All right. Firstly, massive thank you to David T.S. Wood for jumping on this call. Before I get started, for you guys that have never had the opportunity, I better spotlight David's video here too for a second, hey? For you guys that have never had the opportunity to see David live or you don't know a lot about David, I just want to really give you a quick summary of David's background. I'm sure he'll share a little bit more as well. So David he's actually traveled and, in a lot of these countries trained as well in over 60 countries. So he's got an amazing understanding of different cultures, which is something I really love about David when you get to sit down with him and talk to him. His knowledge around other countries and other cultures is just fascinating. On top of that, he has grown several multi-million-dollar companies. We're not talking about several companies. We're talking about he has actually grown several multi-million-dollar companies. So he knows a couple of things about business, just a thing or two, David. He's extremely good friends, obviously, with the Cougars. And something a lot of people don't realise is David actually was the CEO and president of his own network marketing company when he first met Jim Coover, which is a crazy thought how it's all swung around and you finished up in Isagenix as well, David. And on top of that, he is, ready for this, guys? He has trained close to 1 million people. Yeah, I said 1 million for those that were like, I want to say 1 million. 1 million people on how to live an extraordinary life in different forms, whether that be financially, emotionally, spiritually, in all different forms. And I know that David's true passion and love in his life for his two boys. Oh, we just got a little bit of chatter there. Sorry, guys. I'll just mute again, David, on you. Sorry. We'll unmute you in a sec. And his real passion is his two boys, Calvin and Ben. For Lari and I just actually, literally, we had a quick chat with Ben just before. Absolutely awesome boys. For Lari and I, David probably doesn't even realise that he was one of the biggest reasons that Lari and I decided to build this business in Isagenix when he wasn't even there. We listened to Warren Lance talk about his relationship with David Wood and how David was actually the previous lead trainer with T. Harv Eker, and I'll let David share that story as well. But for Lari and I, we'd done a lot of personal development with T. Harv Eker, and as soon as we heard that, we just looked at each other and were like, we're in the right space. And then from that point on, it was all go. So I want to give the biggest round of applause. I know we can't hear it, even though we're on the virtual, and welcome David Wood.
Yay!
Thank you. And I just want to let everyone know, I'm looking at everyone. Sarah, I saw Sam there jumping up and down, look at him going crazy, and Janie and Tammy. I see Carly. I just want to say, Angus, I just want to let you see I'm really looking at you. So when he talked about being able to type in your questions and really ask those questions, we're really interested in those as well. So if things come up for you, make sure you get them down. And you two, what can I say? I just want to say thank you. Thank you for this invite. Thank you for this honor. And also for the role you play in being really just amazing examples of what network marketing really is about and what really the heart of a great leader is really about. So thank you for everything you do.
No, you're more than welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just thought maybe, David, if you could start off and just share how you came about into Isagenix, would be amazing for a lot of these people on this call who may not have had the chance to have listened to you before.
Sure. I was training, as you mentioned, I was training for a company called Peak Potentials, which is the largest personal development company in the world at the time and the fastest growing. And I was with them for about 3 years. And to give you an example, this will give you an example. We'd have anywhere between 1,500 and 6,000 people every single weekend we were training. So, I was training. That's why I've trained so many people. And I just totally believed in it. I believe in network. I believe in personal development. It really transformed my life. I realized that there's a saying which you may want to write down, and it's such an important one. My wealth can only grow to the extent I grow myself. And you could substitute wealth. If wealth isn't your thing, you don't want to be wealthy, but freedom, my freedom can only grow to the extent I grow myself, right? My relationships can only grow to the extent I grow myself. And when I got that piece, that's where I started sort of my path down towards becoming, really doing this work and understanding that really one of the greatest things we can do and the greatest investment we can make. I mean, most of you do know that I do a lot of investments. I buy a lot of real estate. I love investing, but I still say the number one investment I have is me. And I would rather pour money into me. And I believe that so much so. Here's a great example of that. My eldest son, Calvin, just graduated. So he's flying down to Tony Robbins in San Jose. That whole bill is going to be about $3,000 or $4,000 by the time we're done. Flights, hotels, the course itself. And that's how much I believe in it, because I want my sons to be immersed in that type of learning, that type of environment. And so here I was doing that for a living. And after 3 years, I expected to see bigger changes with people. I knew the personal development was important, but what I realized was there were two other critical pieces that were missing. One was a vehicle. People would come and they were just aching for a vehicle, because if you have a job at JOB, you get all the personal development in the world, but if you have a capped ceiling on your income, and if you're a nurse and you can only make $65,000 a year, it's really hard to create freedom under those circumstances. So what I realized was most people needed a vehicle, or everyone really needed a vehicle. And the other one, they needed a culture or a community, because what a lot of people would do, they'd come to our programs and they'd get such a feeling in those programs, but then they go out to the real world and most people weren't like the programs. They were kind of negative, and they were, they kind of looked through a lens of life, which wasn't always very, very positive. So what I realized was when we could combine, and I was already in love with network marketing. And so Kathy Kuba came to one of my events. She heard about my work. We spent 4 hours talking in my suite, and we discussed the idea of partnership, because I'm unemployable. I mean, Jim and Kathy can't employ me to do and say the right thing. That's not me. I mean, that's another guy, but it ain't me. I do this because I believe in them. I believe in their vision, and I call it our vision. I believe in what we stand for. And so the idea of then combining personal development with network marketing, with this incredible culture that we had. And that's really where I came in. I came in to really help assist us in developing the kind of culture where people can develop, where they can grow. Because while network marketing is simple, it's not always easy. It's a very, very simple business, but it's going to challenge every part of us. For us to have freedom, we are going to be challenged. We're going to think about quitting. We're going to think about going to other companies. All these thoughts are very, very normal. But, so just to answer your question, that's how I got started. And, it took me about 4 months where I was lingering. They were paying me, but I wouldn't do anything. I wanted to make sure that Jim and Kathy were the right people. And I remember the day I decided, I'd watched Kathy in the boardroom all day, and then I went to their house that night, and she was cooking a gourmet dinner for Eric and Jim. And I listened to the conversation around their dinner table. And I thought, oh my gosh, you know what? That these people have come from the right well, for the right set of reasons, with the right experience, for the right mission and purpose at the right time. And so I realized that whatever I could do on my own would pale in comparison to what I could do if I hitched my wagon to theirs. So we partnered. So that's how it started.
Wow, that's awesome. So then, is it okay if I take it back one step then, David, as well? Is you just mentioned in there that you've got a passion for personal development, as we know. How did you personally come to that? Like, what was your, I suppose, defining moment into actually creating your own success, your own blueprint, and really getting launched into the personal development, and then obviously helping other people to do the same?
Well, I was in a situation where my marriage wasn't doing very well. I wasn't very happy. And because my marriage wasn't doing well, it was I could hear the stuff coming out of my mouth that used to come out of my parents' mouth. And for those of you that don't know, I left home when I was 15. I left school when I was 15. And I really I was pretty angry. And I ended up traveling around the world for 10 and a half years. What happened for me was I was stuck. I was stuck mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I was just stuck. And my ex-wife heard about a personal development program by T. Harv Eker. And she asked me, she said, would you like to go for that? And I said, sure. I hadn't done any personal development. I didn't really know what it was. And maybe some people on this call don't really get what it is, because it sounds so, maybe we need a new term for it. But I decided to go. I had no idea what it was. It was a 5-day program. And halfway through the second day, I got it. And I realized what I'd been missing. I realized that all these years, I'd kind of just sort of got to a place in my life and I'd accepted this was what my life was going to look like. And then from that moment, I started to make myself the most important investment. And And so I started, I did 13 programs in 1 year. Now, I'm not saying everyone should do that, by the way. I was a little bit like, hey, I had sold a company. I was very successful. I already had some money, but I was still stuck. I was successful to a level, but I had some money, so I didn't have to go and work immediately that year. So I spent a year, and I really sort of immersed myself in that realm. And it was amazing how, my income doubled, then it tripled, then it quadrupled, and it just started to change. But really what changed was how I saw my family, how I communicated with my kids, how I communicated with the people around me, what I was able to attract, the kind of people I started to hang out with. And it was like across the board, the more things I did to invest in myself, the more incredible things happened. And it came from a moment in time where I remember making that decision. I am the most important investment that I have, and I will make sure that I continually add. And even if you don't have money, that could be a podcast, it could be a great book, it could be going to an event that's just to be surrounded by positive people. And because again, we have a very, very unique culture. So it's just become the cornerstone of my life. And I'll give you another example. So I just talked about my eldest son, Calvin, who's going to Tony Robbins. My youngest son graduates in June, who you just met, Ben. Ben's 16 right now. He graduates next June. And he's going to work for me for a year. So he'll be traveling the world with me. And one of the requirements of his job description is he has to do a personal development program every month. And he's going to get paid to go to personal development. That's how much I believe in this, right? It's absolutely essential. And people don't know what you don't know. You don't know that everything you think, the way you see the world, the lens with which you see the world through, is being given to you by your environment. You may want to write this one down, right? So write E, your environment, leads to how you think. So E equals T, right? Leads to how you think, which leads to how you feel, which leads to the actions you're willing to take, which leads to your results. So what I do is I look at my results in any area of my life. And a good example of that recently, a year ago, I looked at the results of my health. And I was getting I was flying first class everywhere, eating great meals, hanging out with too many Aussies and Kiwis. But, I was 25 pounds heavier. And I looked at the result. The result was telling me something about my life. I wasn't feeling great. I'm on my boat, and I never would take my shirt off if someone was on my boat with me because I was embarrassed about how my body looked. I'm 56 this year, right? And so the result was I was out of shape. And so then I had to go back and say, well, what actions was I taking to get out of shape? And how was I feeling to take those actions? And what kind of thoughts was I having to get those feelings to take those actions? And what kind of environment was I in? So I had to go back and change the environment, change what I thought about with my body, change the feelings about my body, and then go into massive action. And then I got a different result to the point now where I'm quite comfortable taking my shirt off and being out on my boat and not feeling, but it really took me going back and understanding that basic philosophy. If you don't like the results in your bank account, then you have to go back to the environment you're in, look at the way you're thinking, look at the feelings that you're feeling, look at the actions that you're taking, and then the results never lie. The results is immediate feedback from the universe or from God or whatever your beliefs are, but immediate feedback to tell you what's really happening. And then all we got to do is change the way we think about it, which is going to change the feelings, change the actions, change the results. So every part of our life can be redone. And, I remember when I was so broke, in fact, when I first came to Canada, I was making $4 an hour as a waiter. And, some days when I look at the kind of income I make today, I had to think and behave differently. I had to become a new person. And all I didn't become a new person. I became more of who I was born to be just by investing more in myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. That's awesome. Sorry.
I love saying.
I'm sorry.
Go on, Sam.
Rather than focusing on the questions. So David, then you mentioned in that you went to 13 events in a year. And as you said, that's not for everybody and the personal development. What's the balance with Isagenix? So obviously there's a balance between personal development, Isagenix training, Isagenix events. Is there a good balance, or how do you view that when people come to you and say, what do I focus on, David, as far as the events go? What do I need to get to do?
Well, it's a really fascinating question. I love this question because it really is answered differently for different types of people. So when you're brand new and you lack the confidence to do this business, so the question mark in your head is, can I do this? If you're in that place or you're doubting it, You need a lot more personal development, because really what you do is you have to build that belief system. So it doesn't necessarily go to events. Events build belief. And when you're surrounded by people and you hear more and more stories of people just like you start to believe that you can do this. But, Ben Kelly's a good example of that, because Ben was, if any of you know Ben's story, wave your hand. You know Ben Kelly's story? If you know who Ben Kelly is, wave your hand. I can see it. Perfect. So Ben Kelly's a great example of someone who, when he joined Isagenix, he'd been contemplating taking his own life. He was working as a bricklayer and he was miserable. And his mom had helped him get a loan. He was scared about losing his job. His whole life sucked, right? And so what happened for him when he joined Isagenix, he actually spent a year where he spent more energy and time on building himself. And he wasn't going to go anywhere. He wasn't looking for another opportunity. He was just looking to stay in the environment. And he kept focusing on building himself before he really engaged in his business. But he had a different mindset. His mindset was a 5 to 10 year process. He knew that he wasn't thinking what's going to happen in the next 12 months, which is a real danger zone for most network marketers, because we do a lot of work in the first 1, 2, 3 years and we don't get paid as much. It's when we've been around and we keep doing the work 1, 2, 3, 4 years, and then we start getting paid disproportionately to the amount of work we do. And that's exactly what happens. But most people don't know that. What Ben did, he decided to focus on growing himself, so he had the confidence and he had the what's the word? Charisma, whatever. And he changed as a human being. And then he went out there and he started to apply these things. And look at him now. He's a multiple 6, almost a 7-figure income earner. And if you asked him how he did it, how did he go from someone who was contemplating taking their life, a bricklayer who was miserable, to becoming a young guy that travels the world in this ripped, hot body? Now he does talks on stage in front of tens of thousands of people. How does that happen? Well, he made himself the primary investment. So I think the balance then, if you're brand new, sometimes you need a lot more. The trap, though, is as we get into it and we start to think we know, sometimes we forget to keep growing. And what happens is, your team will start to grow and then you get stuck. And so what's interesting is there's always another plateau. So what happens is we want to keep looking at what's our next level of advancement. How do we expand and challenge ourselves to keep growing and expanding? Because, you think about it right now. Some of you have maybe small teams, but imagine when you've got a team of 100,000 people all over the world. What kind of person do you have to be, right? A, to attract that, but B, to manage that, to inspire a group of people like that, like you two are doing right now. And I think it's really quite different. But the other thing is it doesn't always have to cost money. So it's not like there's so much free personal development. So podcasts are free. You could have a daily ritual. I actually believe in daily rituals. And I think that if we could adopt one habit every single day, and we employ it. For example, for me, working out now is a non-negotiable. It's a non-negotiable. It's what I do. It's in my calendar. I have a personal trainer when I'm at home. It's a non-negotiable. So it's a ritual. But before I go to work out, I always have a ritual. I go and sit in my hot tub and I actually do a little meditation. I set my day up where I'm not in a big rush. I get grounded. I get centered. I take my time. I use my products properly before I leave and I go to work out. I come back and I always book 45 minutes after a workout where, again, I can listen to an audio book because I want to start my day in the most, well, for me, grounded and positive environment. So who's in charge of my environment? I am. So that's what I try and do. But I say personal development doesn't have to cost money. It can be free, but it has to be a daily thing where we're constantly putting great things in. And then what we're going to see is we're going to see constantly beautiful things coming out, right?
Yeah, I love it. So on that then, David, so like your personal development, you're in it. And I noticed one of the big things that I just noticed just then was you talking about the 1, 2, 3 years where you're putting in the effort. And in Australia in particular, because obviously this call is predominantly Australians and New Zealanders, and nearly everyone that's listening to this call has been in Isagenix probably less than 3 years. How do people get through that mindset? Because I know we had a fast start and then we did have a bit of a plateau, and there's a lot of people on this call that have been in for 1 year, 2 years, and they're feeling like they're just in this, I suppose, like a continual circle of just the same stuff. How do you break out of that? Is it normal? So many questions in regards to that, but yeah, whatever your thoughts are.
Well, first of all, yes, it's normal. And what we got to look at when we compare our start to someone else's middle. Well, we compare someone's success And for example, you two, right? You and Lari, you know, you've spent time in Japan. You've had, you know, you've led a certain lifestyle, and so to live in other cultures, you have to grow certain muscles of connecting that some other people don't have. You know, they get up, they go to a job, they see the same people, they come back, and they're kind of on this kind of like little treadmill, and they don't ever build these muscles because their job, their lifestyle doesn't ever demand it. You two, it demanded you have to go into a culture and adapt yourself. You have to start to listen and see nuances. You have to start to see and communicate with people with more than just your voice. Physiology, you know, there's this depth of respect. There's all these new things, these nuances. Well, when you bring that sort of experience to a network marketing business, you already are adapted to communicating with different types of people. You've already built those muscles. And I think so that's one thing. But so we've got to be careful not to compare somebody who stepped into Isagenix with the tools they need already, right? And we look at their success and we say, well, okay, like Lynn Hagedorn is a great example. She's an American. If you haven't heard of her, she was the very first person to reach millionaire in 14 months, which sounds crazy. But when you look at her, she spent a lifetime in personal development. She's a network marketing professional already. She has this elegance and grace about her. She's a very quiet woman. She's actually quite shy. But she was able to step in. She didn't bring a big team with her, but she knew what to do. She knew that she had to go into massive action. And so she was making 15, 20 calls, 25 calls every single day. She knew how to follow up. She knew how to get people started the right way. She knew how to inspire people. Those are the things that we all have to learn. So if you're stepping in the door and you don't have these things, then your first year, you may only have, you know, some people on this call right now, if you open up the line, or if you type in how many real conversations you've had in your first year, or if you've been around, you know, 6 months, if you say, well, I've had, and I'm talking about real connected conversations about Isagenix, how many real conversations? Because I don't think we should talk in years. I shouldn't say to you, let's say I'm talking to Sam, who's, I'm loving you, Sam, your energy's so great here. But if I was talking to Maddie, so Maddie, if I asked you that question, right? If I didn't say to you, if I said to you, how long have you been in, Maddie? And you said, well, I've been in 74 conversations. So what does time have to do with it? Time has nothing to do with your success in network marketing. Because if you've been in for a whole year and had 7 conversations, and your results, remember the formula, your results are going to tell you the truth. So if your business isn't growing, the chances are right now is you're not having enough conversations. You're not connecting with enough new people. That's, again, a muscle that we build. The question is it worth building? And the question, this is a question that we all have to ask. Look in the mirror. Most people, raise up your hand if you ever went to school or university. You went to university to learn something, or college. Raise up your hand. And hold up the fingers how many years you went there for to learn. So 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Hold up your fingers. 4 years, 3 years, 5 years. 5 years, 3 years, 5 years. All right? 10 years. 10 years over here. I feel like an entrepreneur. Let me go to page 2. I want to make sure I'm looking at everyone. Okay, so raise up your hands up. Jody, I didn't see your hand up there. You didn't go? 5 years. Okay, Helen. Okay, Samantha, I'm watching you. There you go, 1 year. Helen, I don't know what you did in 1 year, but it's awesome. So look at that. So we're used to, this is the model that you've grown up with. You've gone to school, some of you for 10 years, 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, to learn something. In that time, you never got paid. You actually were conditioned to go and get a loan, and most of you got a loan, or you got a job and you worked on the side, and most of you were going for a career that had a cap. So if you were a nurse, it could be $60,000 to $80,000 a year. If you were an electrician, between $60,000 and $80,000 a year. If you were a teacher, between $60,000 and $80,000. So you were conditioned to go to school for 4 or 5 years to get a job that pays a certain amount of money, right? Nod your head if you agree, so I can see that you're coming along with me, okay? Yeah. So network marketing, imagine this. We've got a career where there is no cap. In other words, you can earn unlimited income, okay? And so, but we have to go to school a little bit. We have to treat it like we treated, you went to school for 8 hours a day or 7 hours a day to learn how to do what you're doing. And you think that's normal. Network marketing, where there's no cap, you get to surround yourself with this amazing group of people who really are there. I'm on your team. The reason I'm doing this call right now, my kids just got home from school, is because I'm on your team. And my job is to support my team, which is you lot, right? And so here we are. So you're supported by people who are going to be here every step of the way with you. But what happens is, for some reason in network marketing, we forget that it's a real profession. We forget that we really have to treat it like a profession to get paid like a professional. But it's okay, because if those of you who had your hands up, let's say you were 5 years, you said, I went to school for 5 years. Most of you, if I interviewed you, so Sam, you got 5 up right now. How many years after you got your degree did you feel good at what you were doing? How many more years before you felt confident at what you were doing? Just hold up your fingers. Another 6? Wow. 6 or 7 years, okay? But that's quite normal. You get your degree. If you're a teacher, you don't go in the classroom the first day and think you're a great teacher. Typically, it takes, 5 or 6 semesters before you really get your wheels under you, right? And so this is a really important distinction with network marketing is, if we come in, we realize that it's that 3 to 5. I love people to have a 10-year mindset. Because if in 10 years, even if you only take a little amount of consistent action, because we all get to choose our own speed. So you guys, every one of you, ladies and gentlemen, in all these different countries, you get to choose a speed. If you want success faster, if you want freedom faster, you have to speak to more people, right? More consistently. If you're happy to be part-time, we're going to love you just the way. If it takes you 10 years to do what it took Lari to do in 3, we're going to love you just the same way. It doesn't matter. But we got to start understanding the numbers. The numbers don't lie, right? It's all about connections. And the more that we're the more we grow ourselves, the easier it is to talk to different types of people. And I always say one of the great things is to try and lead a more extraordinary life. So just start doing more fun things, because the more fun things you do, the more things you have in common with more people. And you just have this thing about you have a little spark, right? And that's attractive. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did, in a massive way. Yeah, well and truly. So I'm gonna fire this right up now, David, if that's all right. Now you've warmed up. You're warm?
I'm warm. I got a sweat going on right here. Don't make me take my shirt off.
Good workout for the day.
We might have to put a bit of a chant going on before the end of this to see if that body's looking as good as we say it is, eh?
There's really a six-pack there.
So, 10-year mindset, I love that. I love the 10-year mindset and everything you said, breaking it down, talking in conversations and quality conversations over the amount of years that you've been in. One of the things we're seeing real common factor at the moment is in Australia, again, I'm talking in Australia in particular because it is really, really relevant, is that the success of Isagenix in Australia and, of course, New Zealand on the back of that has prompted a lot of new companies to come and launch into Australia. A lot of network marketing companies. And a lot of people see the shiny object. They might run for it, whatever else. You've got more experience than most people out there in both business, network marketing. You've obviously seen a lot of these companies come and go. I just want to open that up to just your thoughts and where you're at and us as Aussie, how do we treat that?
Well, there's 2,000 new network marketing companies start every year, 2,000. And at the end of 10 years, there's going to be like one, potentially after the end of 10 years, that will ever hit $1 billion. So that's 2,000 a year. So, we're talking about a lot of companies. The challenge is this, and I want you all to listen to this, really listen, because this is an important piece. You will be tempted, especially when it's tough. Especially if your business is plateaued, which is normal. Especially if one of your leaders just left, which is normal. Like anything in life, and tell me a marriage that wasn't challenging at some point. If you've or a child you raised. I got 2 boys out here. I could bring them both in, and I could talk about the craziness of raising children. And so it's normal that sometimes they're idiots, right? And it's normal that sometimes they do things that drive you insane, and it's normal. All these things. Well, it's normal to be tempted. Let's use a relationship. How many of you have ever been attracted to someone other than your partner? Mm-hmm. Right? That's kind of normal. You see someone, you're watching TV, you're watching an actor, and you're like, oh, whoa, that's right. You had that thing, whoa, Brad Pitt, whatever it is, whatever your thing is, right? Probably, what's the guy the Aussie guy that's always doing for singing and dancing? Hugh Jackman. Yeah. You're like, oh, ladies and gentlemen, you're sitting there with your husband. He's got this little beer belly, and you see Hugh Jackman. It's like, it's normal to look at you and go, that would be right. That goes on in the mind. So it's very, very normal. It doesn't mean you all do it. Now, some do, and I would say it's the right thing to do. Now, what happens if you are unfaithful to someone you love, right? What ends up happening is it's life-destroying. It is. It's soul-destroying. And the thing is, once you've found a home in network marketing, right, you got to understand that you got to pay the price somewhere. Whatever you hear somewhere else. I mean, I think Miriam's coming into Australia. You've got Speechbody coming, and they're all going to say things that it's going to make it sound easier. It is not easier anywhere else. It's exactly the same thing. And we have the best compensation plan. I'm an expert at these things. Remember, and I'm not paid to say this, but this is the best compensation plan. I've been using these products for 10 years. There's not a chance I would ever stop using them. I carried them to the top of Kilimanjaro, for goodness sake, right? But it's normal to get tempted. And you're going to meet someone, and they're going to make it sound easier to you, and then you're going to make a decision. You'll leave, and you'll join somewhere else. And you're going to do exactly what you're doing here, which is not a lot if you're thinking of leaving, all right? And you're going to end up facing the same demons, except you've left the culture where you started to get it. And a culture that really has everything we need to succeed. Now, regardless of where you're at, regardless of where you're at in your confidence level or your experience, the idea is to think 10 years ahead. What will happen if in 10 years you do have complete freedom, right? And all you got to do is stay with it. All you got to do is stay the course, right? And so now, I'm not saying that if Isagenix isn't your fit, right, and you decide that for some reason this culture doesn't do it for you, like in a marriage, if you decide that maybe this guy isn't the guy for you and it's time to divorce, I understand that, right? But don't divorce thinking that it's going to be easier somewhere else. People don't divorce and then say, well, it's just relationships are going to be the same challenge every single time. Network marketing is going to be the same challenge wherever you go. And here's the challenge, the harder challenge is because so many fail, you got to find one, and there's sort of 6 kind of rules around, the company you're looking for. But there's very, very few companies. There's only one I know of that has one of the most important determining factors of where you choose to call home. Do you want me to share what that is?
Yes.
All right. So one of the things you look at Sam. Sam's just getting me going. I want to dance with that guy. Okay. So, right. So one of the determining factors is success in your domestic market. So here's what happens. Let me tell you the journey of a network marketing company. They start in their country. Let's say they start in Australia. A lot start in America. So they start in America, right? And what they do is they do their dog and pony show. And remember, I love network marketing. There's a lot of good companies. There's just very few great companies. There's a lot of good companies, very few great companies. So they do their thing. They grow in their country. And what do they think? International. That's where we're going to create billions of dollars around the world. We're going to take this thing around the world. And off they go. And 2 years later, what you start to see is a decline in the domestic market sales. 3 years later, a decline. And I can tell you, look at all the big companies. You tell me how their business is in the country they started. Isagenix is the only company I know that after 14 years, they're still growing in the domestic market. And there's only one reason for that. And it's the most critical reason. If you want to build true wealth, and if you want to build a residual income that will sustain for your family and for your children and your grandchildren, then you have to understand the reason why Isagenix keeps doing this in its domestic home market, unlike most companies. Hi, young man, I see you. All right, so I just want to say, Maddie's, is that your son? Hi. So the idea, though, if I go back in, the idea, though, right, is that the reason is this: the products work. There's not a chance I would stop taking these products. I don't care. And the products have to be the kind of products you'll take whether you're making money or not. And wave up your hand. Any of you have had a product experience where you say, I'm going to put these products in my body for the rest of my life? Raise up your hand. Right? That's it. And so what other companies do, they come in with their stuff, and people don't have this experience that we've all had where this is a lifestyle choice. I will not, my sons use these products. I buy these products for my ex-wife, right? I believe in these products 100%. And whether Jim and Kathy could fire me from a cannon and ban me from using these products, and I'm going to find a way to get them. I'm going to find a way. I will scale the Isagenix compound or dig a tunnel, and I will be stealing them out the back door. But there's not a chance I'll stop taking these products. That is why. That is why. Now, that is why you see this thing, and there's only, I know of one company in the world that their domestic home sales after 14 years is still growing. So where do you want to hang your hat? You're going to go somewhere, they're going to make it sound all nice and flashy, and the first time you go to speak to someone, you're going to feel exactly the same way you did. You're still the same person. You're still got the same crap going on inside, and then you're going to have to do the same thing you left here to do because what? Someone said, well, I'll help you more. Really? Really? Okay? The truth is that doesn't happen. Now, here's a real distinction. I've been associated with Isagenix for 10 years. I have watched a lot of people go. A lot. And I watched a lot come back. I'll be honest with you. And I have not witnessed anyone who left here to do it somewhere else, succeed somewhere else. And I'm saying that on my children's lives. There was one guy who's successful somewhere else that left Isagenix. One. And he was already in that company when he joined Isagenix, just so you know. That's the only distinction. So for me, this is a huge conversation. You will be tempted. You will be tempted. And you're going to have to make a decision based on what? That you think it's easier somewhere else? No, it's not easier anywhere else. This is going to be hard because that's why freedom's at the end of this thing, 3, 5, 7, 10 years. But now we have a real chance. We have a chance. And even if you don't want freedom, even if you just want to be surrounded by great people, use great products and make a little bit of money for the rest of your life, that's still cool enough, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Getting a little.
I knew that. I knew that'd fire you right up. I could see it. I could see it happening. So, really, to give everyone on the call, when you get approached by somebody, David, or like we're seeing at the moment where people are being influxed with friend requests or messages of these really, like I like to call them spammy messages about this great new opportunity. How do you respond? Like, how do you? Obviously, if there's two people that are going to be there. There's either the person that's going to be tempted or there's the person that has 100% belief and posture. What's the right way to respond back to these? Do you shut them out and keep them out, or do you just build a relationship and go from there?
First of all, just say thank you. I mean, like, be polite, right? Because, I mean, they're offering you something they believe in. So, it's not like they truly believe. They believe like you believe. So, some don't. Some are brand new. But you just got to understand that it's not that they're doing something wrong by trying to introduce this to you. They're doing what you should be doing, right? Is talking to people, right? So I think just maintain the relationship. Here's what I do. I had a girl do this the other day. She called me up. And in fact, I just watched the video for her because she's starting out in network marketing and I don't want to crush her dreams, right? But she's also using the Isagenix product, right? But she saw this thing and she asked me to watch it. I said, I'll watch it for you. I said, but you've got to understand one thing. I have zero interest in joining it, but I will watch it for you. And people use these things. They'll say, well, I just want your opinion. And this is a great line to use, whatever, right? But I don't like set lines, but she used it on me. But I like her and I respect her. And I think she would be amazing in our company. And she's going to have to go through her own journey to find this doorway. She's using the products already, but network marketing, she's still trying to find the easy way. It doesn't exist. Right? So right now, she's sending me something. I said I'll watch it. It took me about 14 minutes to watch. At least now I can talk to her. She knew in advance I have zero interest in joining another company or being a part of another company, but I would do that because, again, I want to maintain the relationship. If your belief is low right now and you start looking and if you feel like you don't have the discipline to have conversations with people without getting lured away, you may have to say, you know what, please don't send it to me. I'm really focused on what I'm doing. And you just can't look because it's just going to be distracting. All distractions are equal. All distractions are equal. So you just got to stop the distraction. Stop, spending the time there. And if it needs to be, if someone's hounding you and they're sending these crass, unconnected kind of blurbs, just delete them. I mean, I would just block them. Because if anyone sends me crap without my permission, I take that as someone walking into my house and swearing at my kids. It's like, what do you think? You could just send me stuff without even talking to me? That is not how, I don't think that's polite. And I think I want my children to live in a world where people are polite. If you want to talk to me and ask me if I can view something, great. Like this girl did, I'll support her 100% because I like helping network marketers. I don't care which company they're in. I like helping network marketers. But I believe that Isagenix is the best company on the planet, but this isn't everyone's home, right? So if someone's impolite with their approach, I would say you treat them like you treat other impolite people. You tell them not to treat you that way. or you just block them out of your life. You say, I don't need that energy in my life. Does that help?
That's massively helpful.
Awesome.
I'm going to flip it right on its head now, David, and just say, so with Isagenix, as you were talking about, we're in 12 countries. We're expanding. We've got the UK and Europe opening up next year. We've got a lot more of Asia. Sorry? What was that?
I said, and that's the secret. No.
How do we, as Isagenix associates, go out there and without doing what we are seeing some other people and other companies doing with that, exactly what you're talking about, spam and just walking straight in the front door, how do we go about building relationships with people in a really elegant way and still giving them and letting them know about the Isagenix opportunity, knowing that, you know, there are other opportunities out there that they may be interested in already?
Yeah, there's four primary ways to prospect. So write them down and we'll talk about each one. So the first one is referral, right? So referral, and Lynn Hagedorn would be a good example of this because, again, she's very well respected. She's she's making close to $2 million a year now in Isagenix. She's a very shy woman, very polite, very quiet, right? And she would say that one of the things she asked everyone is, who do you know? So write that down, who do you know? So when you talk to anyone, who do you know? Who do you know that's looking for a new opportunity? Who do you know that loves network marketing? Who do you know that's looking to lose some weight? Who do you know that's looking for more energy? Who do you know that loves people? Who do you know that would love to create freedom? Who do you know that loves money? So the idea is that we start asking the people we already know who they know, because everyone knows someone. And so it's okay to be in business, right? I mean, my banker often asks me for referrals. It's a very normal thing to do. If you're a professional at anything, you're going to ask for referrals. And so, but most new network marketers don't think of this. So someone could say to you, yeah, I'm not interested. You say, well, who do you know? Who do you know that I could help right now to create better health? Or who do you know that is looking to get into those skinny jeans? Or who do you know that really is just unhappy with life and looking for a change? Who do you know that's recently gone through a divorce and is looking, whatever. So there's a million different who do you know questions. And the who do you know question, the referral base, is really an attribute of a professional that we're going to ask for referrals. And we can build a dynasty on referrals, right? So that's number one, referrals. Any questions on that one before I move off of it?
No, you know what, like really just landed for me, and I just want to repeat it, David, was that it's something that I think most of us, I should say I, because I won't speak for everyone else, is that I don't think often enough is that it is actually okay to be in business. When we're in network marketing, it's no different than any other business, and that if you are a professional in this industry, every other industry asks for referrals. Why should it be any different for us? That really, I just wanted to repeat that. That really landed.
I'll give an example of that. My son, I have two sons. One went to a private school and one went to a public school. They got to choose. And one didn't like the private school and one didn't like the public school. So they went to different schools, right? And the private school at the end of the year, when he graduated last year, you know what they did? They sent me this whole thing about not only giving them money for future students, but really asking me to go through my database and find other parents that they think should come up and have a free day at the school. It's like that is a normal part of business. I don't care where you look. You're going to find, maybe not undertakers. Who do you know that's about to pop off? Who do you know that's looking a bit sick right now? Who do you know? Maybe that would be a bit crass. Who do you know that's really, really old? Okay. Some of you are laughing and some are looking a bit shocked. Carly, you're looking very shocked at me now.
On that note, David, what's number two, mate?
All right. So back to number two. So number two is the direct ask. Now, a direct ask is something that, again, there's a guy in our company called Mike Barker. Mike Barker is a 6-dan black belt taekwondo champion, right? And how I met Mike Barker is I was the president of a network marketing company. I'm in a suit, not in a tie. I'm in a suit in a restaurant, and this girl came up to me. She was quite short. She was a little overweight. She had quite bad skin, and her confidence was actually very shy. She walked up to me as a direct ask, and she said something like, this is a lot of years ago, she said something like, you know, I was watching you from across the room, and I loved your energy, and I think you really love what my brother's doing. I'd like to introduce you. Now, because I'm a happy person, what did I say? Get lost? No. I said, sure, I'd love to meet your brother. And I remember doing a 3-way call with Mike Barker. He was in Nikin selling magnets. I remember I was washing plates. I got the phone by my ear, right? And she did the classic three-way call introduction. I met him the next day at Boston Pizza, and I ended up buying magnets for my golf shoes. I still suck at golf, but I bought the magnets anyway, right? That's a direct ask. And that's something, I'll give you another example where I've done a direct ask recently, right? So in Seattle, which is they have these long escalators, right? And I'm on the escalator. Now, I don't have time to build rapport or relationships. And so I'm simply standing next to someone who I may never see again in 3 or 4 minutes. So a direct ask can be done many, many ways. One, it could be a compliment, or it could be a question like, hey, I just noticed you. You look like someone who's really passionate about life. Are you looking for blah, blah, blah? It could be that. Here's what I did. I said to the guy, I said, you must love traveling. I don't know many people that travel a lot that love traveling for work. So I just said that. You must love it. He said, no. He said, do you realize I've missed every one of my son's games this year? Every one of my son's games. I'm on the escalator, direct ask. Listen to the language I used. I said, hey, if I could show you a way, you can write it down. If I could show you a way where you never had to miss another game, and you wouldn't have to take a cut in income. Because I could tell that he's probably got the golden handcuffs on, right? He's probably having to work hard he looked pretty sharp, right? So if I could show you a way where you'd never have to miss another game without taking any cut in income, would you be open to taking a look at something? Would you be open to taking a look at something? And the objective here is simply get his contact information. I mean, you could ask for his Facebook address. You could ask for his email address. Typically don't ask for phone numbers at that point because it's too new. But you've known the guy for a few seconds. His pain is he's not spending any time at his son's games. All I said was, if I was able to show you a way. Now, if you're new and you don't have that confidence, you could say, hey, if I was able to introduce you to someone that can help you never miss your son's game. So if you're new, you just use, if I was able to introduce you to someone that could help you never miss a son's game or take a cut in income, would you be open to meeting them? And that's where we start setting up a three-way call, all right? Because you're new and you don't have that posture. I have posture because I'm confident about what I believe in. When you're new, you don't have that posture, so you can leverage it. So that's called a direct ask. You have any thoughts or questions on that one?
I love the, if I was able to introduce you to somebody, I think that's absolutely gold, because I think you're on the money, David. It's that a lot of people that are new don't have the posture or in their own mind because they haven't had the success yet to actually ask straight up and truly believe it. But when you actually know someone, everyone knows someone that's had success, but when you're able to actually say, I'm able to introduce you, everyone knows somebody, right? Yeah.
And then, so last one is relationship. This is the primary way that there's two more, but I'll go. The primary one is relationships. Okay. We're in the relationship business. And so a good example, again, a lot of you know Warren Lance. You mentioned him on the call earlier. Warren Lance brought in a guy by the name of Michael Klaus. Michael Klaus, right? Michael Klaus was a professional speaker, and he had told Warren no when Warren first asked him about Isagenix. 6.5 years, Warren kept in relationship with him. Every time he was down in Seattle, he'd go for a cup of tea with this guy. Once he sent him products and Michael threw him straight in the garbage, he was not interested in doing network marketing. But the relationship business, because, Warren has learned how to be a professional network marketer by staying in relationships with people that say no. A lot of new network marketers take it personally, and no is that they make it mean something. After 6.5 years, something changed in Michael Klaus's life, and Michael Klaus phoned Warren and said, hey, I'm ready to get started now. Michael has already made $1 million in Isagenix, right? He's already an Isagenix millionaire. And he did that very, very quickly. But he wasn't ready for 6.5 years. And I think that a lot of us don't realize that when we're in the relationship business, if you think about the professions you have currently, most of you don't talk to everyone about your profession. I mean, if you're a plumber, you don't walk into someone's house and say, hey, nice pipes. I'd like to see your pipes. Can I clean your pipes? Can I flush your toilet? Do you mind if I flush your toilet? Oh, I like that toilet, right? You don't talk like that. Only network marketers do that crap. Most of us just get into relationships with people. They know what you're doing. And there's conversations, there's times, and you can introduce it. But if they say no to you, it's not for them right now. The relationship should stay whole and sound. and you continue to be a great person around them and a great friend or a great brother or a great sister or whatever, or a great neighbor, and let them say no and be no, right? And it's only in network marketing when we start to take things personally and we start to make up this nonsense that only conversations we can have are going to lead to network marketing or lead to Isagenix. I have a lot of friends that are not in Isagenix, and I don't mind that they're not, right? But there are people, because remember, people join network marketing companies because they're at a crossroads in their life. It's the business, something's changing in their life often. But for their health, they're looking for something. And remember, the definition of an entrepreneur is someone who solves people's problems for a profit. Solves people's problems for a profit, right? And so our job as entrepreneurs, and that's what you are as a network marketer, you're an entrepreneur, right? And so the idea is, you know, if you know someone, if you could help someone with these products, right, it's going to be almost a responsibility for you to share them. But you don't have to be attached to the yes. And if we use the tools, we can share them elegantly. So if we're trying to introduce someone to a body change, they just told you how sick they are of their body, like I was, all right? And you show them an IsaBody video, or you show them, if they're really overweight, you show them a 100-pound club video, and it resonates with them, and they can start on this journey to get their health back. That's our job, and it's such an elegant, beautiful job done well. But in the beginning, because we're trying to get people, we often do it poorly. And we don't realize that we're in the relationship business. And the relationship continues after a no. And it's going to continue for the rest of our life, right? And that's why I don't like that saying, some will, some won't, so what next? I say some will, some won't, so what? It doesn't matter that they don't. And the last part isn't next, is let's stay connected. Let's stay in a relationship, right?
That's an awesome spin on that. And what's number 4?
Well, it's just practice, the practice method. It's where you can phone friends and you're practicing something. So it's when so let's say you're practicing your 30-second story, you've done some work on it, you can phone them up, say, hey, I'm just practicing my story. And you know that the story you're about to tell could resonate with them, but you just get in the habit, instead of just thinking like you're a network marketer, you get in the habit like going to school. You phone somebody up and say, do you mind if I practice my story and get some feedback? Tell me what you love about it and tell me how I can improve it. And you're using the phone, and it's a great way to share your story, but it's also a great way to get in the habit of picking up the phone and talk to people and ask for help. So the practice method, and I'm telling you, I can't tell you, especially someone you're a little bit intimidated, you don't know how to bring up the conversation, and they'll say, you're what? But you're still only looking for feedback, remember. You're not trying to get them. You're not using it as a game. But the byproduct of practice often can be someone saying, really? You should send me some of that stuff. It sounds amazing. Only if you practice a great story. So that's the 4th one, right?
I love it. So we've got referrals, direct ask, relationships, and practice. And everything, as you think about it, everything comes under them, doesn't it? It's awesome. So just obviously wary of time as well for you there, David, and truly, truly appreciate everything you've shared. We're getting messages being sent privately as well at the same time, which is just awesome. People are just loving it. What are 1 or 2 things that, let's say you're never going to see anybody else on this call again. They're not going to any of your events. I know. It's an impossibility, I know. But let's just pretend that was going to be the case. Just what are a couple of things that you would leave people with? Like, what would you leave people with to tell them 1 or 2 things and you're never going to see them again?
You know, the first is it's worth it. This journey is worth it, because the first thing is you've already got forget money for a second. To be a part of a culture like this, where, I mean, like I could go to New Zealand or Singapore or Australia and we could hang out. The very nature of this global network of people who are all at different sort of stages of their network marketing career. But the one thing we all have in common is we're willing to help each other and we're willing to really stand together. So the fact is you've already won the emotional lottery. You've already got what most people crave, which is real connections. And so, you know, you belong to a culture where you can walk into a room of thousands of people, and by the very nature of a shared vision, you know, if you've ever been to a celebration and the way we hug each other, the depth of connections, the friendships, I look at our friendship, but look at the friendships. I know for me personally, I mean, I have a lot of friends, but I have a lot of friends in Isagenix who are close, personal, dear, wonderful friends, you know, and that is an emotional lottery piece that we've got to understand. We get that anyway, regardless of what star you are, regardless of how many conversations you have. If you show up and and we all understand that this is a challenging journey. We understand it's going to challenge the fiber of every part of you. And at different stages, some of you, like those of you that maybe a 2-star and you're stuck and you're thinking, oh, maybe I'm going to quit, that kind of thing. A lot of people get stuck there. That's just normal. And the fact is, if you walk out the door now you've got there, this is just your next challenge. Every time you're stuck, there's something you don't know. There's another growth area for you. And once you grow beyond that, and a great way to look at it, imagine if you have a level 6 problem and you're a level 4 person. Is that a big problem or a small problem?
Big.
It's a big freaking problem. You're a level 4 person, right? But if you have a level 6 problem and you're a level 7 person, is it a big problem or a small problem?
A smaller problem, yeah.
Well, what happens if you're a level 10 person and it's a level 6 problem? It's no freaking problem. And so what happens is when you get to a wall and you start to get challenged, it's just there's something you don't know. You've got to grow beyond that, and then your business will ignite. Because again, you can stay stuck. Remember, the brain's job is to keep us in our comfort zone. So whatever we say to ourselves is nonsense unless it's positive. So when you're questioning, you put this time in, maybe, and you're comparing yourself to other people, you're stuck, that's great. That should be a time of excitement. I'm stuck, which means once I get unstuck, I'm going to be better in relationships. I'm going to have greater connections with my family. I'm going to be wealthier. I'm going to be happier. I'm going to be more vibrant. And that's the very nature of our business. We have to expand beyond the problems that we face. Or we just hit the problem and we quit. And we go, so another, hey, let's go to Miriam. Let's see if we can do it there. Nope, guess what? We just start all over again and boom. So the idea is it's worth it. And the idea is that we've already won the emotional lottery, which most people crave. On most people's deathbeds, they don't talk about how much money they've got. They talk about the relationships they have. And you get to be a part of this relationship pool and be accepted for your color, your creed, your weight. Where else in the world can a 150 pounds overweight person get a standing ovation? Where does that happen? Most people are 150 pounds overweight are ridiculed, right? They're the brunt of jokes and comedians everywhere. In our culture, we've already won. So forget everything else. And if you want the money, you're going to have to freaking work for it. It's not net play marketing, and it's not net sit on my ass marketing. It's called network marketing, which means we have to do the work. And it's like anything. If you want to be great in a relationship, you're going to have to do the work. You're going to have to be someone who's open and kind and can listen and can accept someone else's point of view, that can trust. All these things to develop a great relationship. But unfortunately, if we use relationships as examples, some people who get hurt in one relationship, they trust less next time. So they go in with less, right? So they never have the succulence of a beautiful relationship because they won't grow beyond the boundaries of what's there right now. So I think really, I think my last words, if I could shut up for a moment, my last words is it's worth it. It really is worth it. And, you know, there is no other company that I know of, I really know of, that has everything we have. This is, for my personal opinion, I mean, if there were 6, I'd say there are 6 great companies that I think are equal to us. I don't think there are 6 companies that are equal to us. I think there are some great companies. I think that we have everything, because when I look at Eric Coover and Kathy Coover and Jim Coover, do we make mistakes? Yes. Big Y, big E, big S. Yes. Will we make more mistakes? Yes, we will. But on the big scale of things, when I look at you two, and I look at what you've done here tonight and the invite of these people from all these different countries connecting us, I just see what we really stand for, which is people helping people.
Yeah, well, I'm mind blown. I know everyone else has got their mind blown. Larry and I have had the pleasure of attending just about every course that you've taught in the last 2.5 years. Mate, from the bottom of my heart, I can't thank you enough. And this call, I'm sure everyone on this call is going to be sharing this call and rewatching this call and taking so many notes. And I can't wait to see you in Brisbane soon. And I'm sure everyone else is going to love the opportunity of being at one of your events coming up. Anything you want to give a plug before we pause the record?
Sure. Hey, Instagram, find David T.S. Wood. How's that? David T.S. Wood, and Facebook, David T.S. Wood, come along. And the David T.S. Wood at Amplified Living. I'm going to get better, I promise. I'm going to launch a whole new social media strategy in January. I just don't like social media very much. But yeah, I just posted a picture of a bear on my deck today. If you have not seen me on Instagram, my son took a photograph of a bear right here, right off the deck. So go and have a look at that.
Definitely will. Now, I'm just going to stop record, Dave. So thanks again. I really appreciate this. I'm just going to stop record so when everyone shares this away.